Brighter Media Group original.
Welcome to the Verse Podcast, a daily pursuit to become more perceptive to what the Bible really says. My name is John. Today we're going to be reading from 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 10. Today's verses are born out of persecution. Peter wrote these words, and he wrote them to both Jews and to Gentiles, people who were not Jewish. And he used the word aliens here, which was a word indicating he was speaking to Christians as a whole, Christians who were living their lives in such a way as they stood out into culture. We're about 64 years after the death of Jesus, and at this time, Peter had not yet been arrested, but persecution of Christians was ramping up. Some have called the book of 1 Peter the Job of the New Testament. Peter, who suffered yet maintained true perseverance. Keep in mind, too, that Peter had lived with Jesus for about 3 years. Peter's focus was on pointing people to Jesus and to hold him as Lord of their life while living on this earth. It included submitting to authority, and at times unjust authority, in the government, at home, and in the workplace. Chuck Swindoll described it in this way: by rooting their perseverance in the person and the work of Christ, believers can always cling to hope in the midst of suffering. And so today we're going to read a great verse. 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 10 and 11. I'll read from the ESV. And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. I'll read one more time. And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. Peter's encouragement is one of perseverance. Perseverance in faith. It's not enough to just get through the day. It's also not okay to have this big, positive, bright smile on our faces and pretend like nothing's wrong. It's recognizing that life is hard and that there are trials we don't want to face. It's recognizing that there is suffering we will have to endure. But it's recognizing its temporary presence in our lives. It's holding on to real hope as people of faith. When life takes on an eternal perspective, if you are a believer and a follower of Jesus, you are now viewing life with an eternal perspective. And when you view it that way, your suffering in this world takes on that new perspective, the eternal perspective. When we truly understand, if we truly believe, if we truly trust that we will enjoy the glory of God forever, then we are all the more enabled to endure bravely and to persevere with strength through our suffering. That doesn't mean we don't have doubts. That doesn't mean we don't have questions. It means that when we're going through it, we have a hope to hold on to. I can't imagine not having that. So let's reflect on that piece today, that when suffering comes, and it may already be here for you, but how are you going to respond? Cling to the promise that this is only temporary, and Jesus himself will restore you, confirm you, strengthen you, establish you. Ask him to remind you that he is refining you through this suffering now and through this suffering to come. there's a piece of this verse today that I am going to dive into deeper in a bonus episode, a question that I have more specifically. What does it mean that Christ himself will restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish? It needs a deeper dive, one that I'm doing the work on right now. If there's another question you have, something similar to that, something you've come across in maybe your own reading or a podcast that we've done here, I would love to know about it. I've made it really easy for you to submit those questions and even submit a verse that you would like to hear in a future episode. It is in the show notes, the link, everything you need is there. I'd also appreciate it, guys, if you could leave a rating and a review, help others find the podcast, and create context for those who are deciding to listen to the podcast or not. You're showing love in that way, and I'm so grateful for that. Have a great rest of your day, guys. I would love to connect with you. Can't wait to do that. Keep making hope louder. Go make it happen. Do it today.